Hey, Nick Artigo here. I'm going to show you how to apply the principles of alignment to the downward facing dog yoga posture. So I like to approach alignment in yoga poses and alignment in anything else through the mindfulness of principles. So rather than trying to memorize a bunch of rules, the principles are what's important. And if you know a few principles, you can apply them to any situation. So one principle of alignment in yoga is the foundation first. And in the downward facing dog position, the hands and the feet are your foundation. So you want to start with the hands and kind of look at the alignment of the hands. So you want the middle fingers facing forward about shoulders distance apart. They can be a little wider if you have any lack of mobility in your shoulders, but about shoulders distance apart. I tend to go here. When I first started, I tended to go wider because my shoulders lacked the mobility. So shoulders distance are a little wider. And middle fingers pointing forward. You want the fingers spread out wide, really wide as you can. Not like this, like this. Like you're trying to grasp a basketball, you're trying to palm a basketball. That's how wide you want your fingers. You also want every square inch of your palm surface of your hand to be on the ground. You want it on the ground, flat. So you don't want the palm coming up like this. So if you ever doing the down dog and it looks kind of like this, kind of like my knuckles are up and my fingers are together, it's not what we want. We want it spread wide, almost like I'm trying to exaggerate that spread. And that's what the hands look like. And the feet, you want the feet to be parallel. And the big toes are pointing forward. Heels are going to be slightly farther apart than the big toes. When your feet are parallel, the big toes are a little bit closer to each other than the heels. And then a big fault in the alignment that you'll see a lot in the practice of yoga is in an attempt to make the heels touch the ground in downward facing dog, people will turn the toes out and the heels in. So it looks like this. I'll kind of show you. So here I have my feet parallel, and then maybe I take them a little wider, and in order to make the heels touch the ground, I let the toes go out. So I can make my heels touch the ground if my toes go out, but I don't want to do that. I want the feet parallel even if my heels don't touch the ground. So that alignment is more important than the heels touching the ground. Very important there. Another thing that will happen in the alignment of downward facing dog is that because of lack of hip mobility, particularly the hamstrings, someone will go into this downward facing dog and the tailbone will tuck under. The legs will be straight and the tailbone will tuck under, and the spine will be very rounded. The lower back will be very rounded. So it looks kind of like this. Like this. What we want is to have the body look like a V from the side. And a lot of times what that entails for a lot of people, especially when getting started, is that the knees bend a little bit. So you let your knees bend a little bit so that your body can maintain that V shape. So let me show you the difference between the two. So my foundation is set, my middle fingers are pointing forward, my feet are parallel, right, my knees are bent, and my body, my spine is straight. So this is V shape of the body. And then if I straighten my legs out, you see how my spine rounds out in order to straighten my legs? So, having the spine straight is more important than having the legs straight. Most people, when they're first approaching downward facing dog, do it backwards. They straighten out the legs, lock the knees, and the spine is rounded like a C. What we want is the spine long so that we can get nice, full, deep breaths. Spine is long, chest is lifted. as if someone's taking the crown of the head and the tailbone and pulling them apart, almost like the tailbone is going to the sky and the crown of the head is going toward the earth, that line. And it's not as important to have the legs straight. Over time, the hamstrings open up, the hips open up, the calves open up, and your heels get closer to the ground, the legs get straighter. But at first, we want primarily spine length rather than the legs being straight. That will prevent you from flaring up sciatica if you've experienced that before. A lot of times, if you're in a down dog position, your spine is rounded, you're putting compression on the disc, if you have any history of low back issues, you will flare it up, especially if your hamstrings are tight. So bend the knees. It's more important to have the spine long. Spine is long rather than the legs straight. Straight spine rather than straight legs. Foundation, feet parallel, even if that means your heels are not touching the ground. And all of this allows you to use your breath for alignment. So, feet parallel, middle fingers pointing forward. I can bend my knees a little bit. My spine is nice and long. And my spine is nice and long here. And my body looks like a V. Between my thighs and my torso looks like a V. It's good. Now, if I can straighten my legs and still keep that position in the spine, I do so. But if I straighten my legs and it causes my spine to round out, then I keep the knees bent. So there's the principles of alignment for the downward facing dog position. If you found any benefit from this video, please leave a comment below. If you have any questions, comments, leave a comment. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And if you want more content that's not available on the blog or the regular YouTube channel, then click the link that is connected to this video and you'll have a chance to sign up for the Run Better Now VIP Club and get instant access to all that. Thank you.